such good helper.
Hello, my debaucherous darlings, and welcome back to the Goth Attack. So this week we have a fun secret project going on. It's the birthday of one of my besties, Jennie. Me and some of the other girls are working on a birthday surprise for her. She has no idea that we're doing this. So Jennie's style is very much what we like to joke as femme rococo. She is genuinely a princess of a human being and deserves to be treated as such. She loves pink and everything Versailles, and so we thought it would be fun if we DIY'd her a beautiful little throne chair for her birthday party. So we found this really great chair at the thrift store, which is a really great way to do stuff like this. I recommend checking out your local flea markets, thrift stores, checking online to see if any buy nothing groups or things like that are giving away furniture for free or cheap. It's a really great way to upcycle something that might not get used otherwise. And this chair was a really great find. It's got a lot of the great base details with these kind of filigree pieces, and the shape of the leg is really nice. So we are going to upcycle this into a beautiful throne for our bestie. So Steph and I went ahead already. Basically, as soon as she got the chair, she brought it over and we took off the top leather fabric piece. We did this because we wanted to see what the situation was going on underneath for the padding. This was really easy to remove. There were just little tacks basically holding it into the frame, so we just popped them out. So this is always a fun kind of archaeology experiment every time I do any project that requires reupholstery, because you never know what you're going to find. This is really interesting. It looks like this has been reupholstered at some point before. There's all sorts of really random pieces of material in here, including what appears to be pieces of a sweater. And so we're going to be removing all of this because we do have traditional batting and upholstery foam. And so we'll do all this as brand new and clean. We're going to paint the chair. We're going to find some really awesome, very brocade princess worthy fabric to put on the base of the chair, and we're going to reupholster the back, and then we're going to add some fun filigree details to really up the level of this and make it the perfect throne for her birthday. So I'm undecided on whether whoever redid this chair was either insane or a genius. When you get down to the bones of any sort of chair or couch, there's usually metal coils or strapping, or sometimes both, to provide the support for the seating of the chair. And whoever made this legitimately used metal hangers as the support structure for this chair. They're all just nailed down and zip tied together, and this is wild and hilariously funny, and it works. I mean, this is like a perfectly stable mechanism to do a chair. So if you're thinking of building a chair, perhaps using metal hangers is a good tactic for this seat if you don't have access to springs or coils or strapping. So now that we have all the fabric removed, all the padding removed, and we are down to the absolute bones, I'm going to take this outside and we're going to spray paint it a beautiful dusty pink, because that will make Jennie so happy. I am using a chalk paint spray paint because it just minimizes me having to do anything besides wipe this down, and we are on a bit of a time crunch for this project, and so taking the time to sand everything down and really finesse with this, and even go through and potentially have to strip the old paint off, would be very time consuming. And in addition to that, anytime you pick up something old and it's painted and you don't quite know what's in the paint, there's always the possibility that, you know, there's lead or other stuff in the paint. So if you're thinking about ever stripping or sanding something that's old and painted, you should they have little test strips, and I'll link test strips for lead down below. I've used them before for other things, and you just want to make sure you're not going to particleize anything that could be harmful to you, but don't want to have to deal with any of that. So I'm going to use the chalk paint because it doesn't require me to strip or do anything to this chair before we paint it. So we're going to get going on that. I forgot to mention, I am going to leave the dust cover on this while I paint it. It's sort of an unnecessary piece on a piece of furniture like this. Usually you would create this sort of dust cover to prevent things from getting inside of a couch, but because this is a singular seat that we're going to make in one piece, it's not super necessary. So I'm just going to leave it on, and we're just going to paint the chair as is because it really won't matter in this circumstance. So now we're going to go get painting. So got the frame of the chair all painted up, so waiting for that to dry. I've got my amazing crew of humans here, and we are going to be working on getting Jennie's chair figured out for all the fun fabric and accoutrement. We did a trip to the thrift store and got a bunch of really awesome, fun fabric pieces, and we're going to use this to do all the upholstery on the chair. And this is a really great tactic if you want to find interesting fabric for cheap. I would check out your local thrift store or any sort of cheap reseller. You can find interesting pieces for cheap. So because these are all dresses in strange shapes, we're going to seam rip everything apart and see what kind of shapes we're working with. So the paint on the chair is all dry now, so it's time to do all the fun stuff. I have a bunch of the fabric pieces from the thrift store. We went and we seam ripped everything apart so that way we could see how much fabric we were working with. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be attaching this beautiful piece as this back panel here. I think this is going to be a really unique and different moment, having the back of this chair see-through with this beautiful lace panel. It's something that you wouldn't typically see in a chair, and we had thought about potentially upholstering this, but I think it's going to be something that is just so beautiful that I think we're just gonna leave it like this and save us the time, because creating a panel for this would actually be pretty time consuming with all the curves on this chair. And so I'm going to actually use some of the liquid stitch that I had left over from the chair project I did a while back. And so if you haven't seen that project, I recommend checking it out and I will link it. But I'm going to use some of the leftover liquid stitch to get this attached and glued to the chair. And then we are going to be working on the seat after that. We have some beautiful pink satin that I think is going to look so beautiful when it's combined with this beautiful pink lace fabric for the back of the chair. So those are the things that are going to be happening next. I've got the gang coming over in a little bit and we're going to be getting to work. So I'm realizing that things in this project so far have probably seemed a little bit chaotic, and that's partially because behind the scenes I'm also working on the pantry project right now. This is a bit of a continuity versus real life sort of situation when it comes to creating videos and filming. So for a bit more context, the origin of this project was because we wanted to create a really awesome throne-like chair for Jennie for her birthday, and we had the idea of doing a chair flip. And I think this is a really great project because we are obviously catering the design of this for Jennie. She is a pastel perfect princess and she loves the Rococo style, and I think this is going to be really great and well suited for her aesthetic. But the fun thing about this is you could do this for literally any aesthetic. And I think this is a fun idea to do for friends or family and people you care about. So if this is a project you would consider taking on, I would love to know. So comment below, because I would love to be kept up to date on all the awesome things that you guys are doing too. So where we are at with this project is the base is painted. I got the back fabric glued to the chair, and the next step for that is going to be just gluing on trim around that edge to clean it up and make it so that that edge of the existing lace fabric is going to look really nice and clean. We don't want to have the raw edges. It's not going to look cute or finished on the back of the chair. And so I'm going to do that next. I'm just going to glue it down with the same liquid stitch. It's working awesome. We also added these really cute filigree pieces. We used epoxy sculpt and put it into silicone molds and then just put it on the chair and sculpted it down. Epoxy sculpt is a really cool material, and I had actually forgotten that it existed until I was thinking about ways to do this for this project, because originally we were gonna do baked clay, but because of all the curves, doing that would have been very complicated to get them to sit on all these complicated angles on this chair. And while watching another content creator on YouTube, I realized, oh, epoxy sculpt is a thing that exists. And it's a really great material because you can sculpt directly onto the material itself, and then within 24 hours it dries and it's ready to be painted. And so I am also going to paint the base of these all the same pink color as the chair. I'm going to add some trim to the inside of the chair. It's going to be very cute. Again, this is all leftover material from shirts and dresses and things that we got at the thrift store. And this is a great way to find fun fabrics and things, because sometimes things at the thrift store are not in great condition, and so they won't get picked up by people to be worn. And so I think it's a great way to find material for craft projects. So we're gonna add the trim. We're going to get the base coat of pink paint on all the filigree pieces. And then later today, the crew's coming and we're gonna try to get this chair finished up. Okay, so Jennie is a performer, so for her birthday, she's actually putting on a birthday show. So we're gonna get the finishing touches on her beautiful birthday throne chair, and then we're gonna get ready to head over so that we can surprise her with this great little upcycled chair DIY for her birthday. Hey babes, how you doing?
Hey girl, I'm all right. How are you? What's up?
I'm good, you know, same old, same old. So I was thinking, let's talk the chair project. I was wondering, what did you think was going on? Did you have any idea what we were up to?
So I'm really glad that you vaguely told me you were working on a secret project for me. Because otherwise I probably would have panicked. Yeah, I would have been like, oh my God, they don't want to hang out with me. They hate me. But I had no idea what the secret project was. Like, absolutely none. Because you guys were surprisingly sneaky. Because we're never sneaky. We're really bad at it.
I'm really glad we were able to pull one over on you. It's always tough trying to surprise a friend. So one of the things that was really interesting is obviously your aesthetic is super different than mine. So how would you describe your aesthetic overall?
So if I had to think about my aesthetic, how would I describe it? I know that the joke that we say, like when we were talking about my apartment originally, was like sorry, my shower's making a weird noise. Was like femme rococo basic, like Versailles, but also Gilmore Girls quotes on the walls. I think the other side is very like hashtag expensive and difficult, which also is like our weird tongue-in-cheek joke, but very, very accurate. You know, a lot of pink, a lot of luxe details. I like things to feel very plush and luxurious. So I think that describes it. Those are a lot of adjectives, right?
It's the perfect amount of adjectives. So do you think the chair hit the mark for you?
Okay, so the chair is like friggin' perfect. When I saw it, I just about died. I loved like the pappus.
Editor Angie here. This was something that I forgot to mention. You'll see it in some of the after shots. I ended up getting pampas grass to line the back of the chair. It has a really beautiful burlesque vibe to it, which is something that Jennie and I both do and are super interested in. And I attached it using tiny pipe clamps so that they would be easily removable, so that way she could move the chair around. And then in her apartment, I knew she was probably going to use this as her vanity chair, and so being able to remove the pampas meant she could use it as deco in other places. And so there's just a cute extra little add-on that I forgot to mention.
Pampas, whatever. The grass stuff on the back was like, ooh, fancy. But the fact that they were removable is great because it's like now my vanity chair, which again makes me feel extremely luxurious, especially when it's 5:30 in the morning and I'm putting on my makeup for work and I hate everything, but I get to sit in a pretty chair and feel like a princess, even though I have to go to work.
Were you surprised?
I was beyond surprised. Like I had no idea. Like I was planning to just like sit in a chair and hang out, and then I was like, you wouldn't let me come upstairs, and I was like, things are happening and I don't know, and I was supposed to be planning stuff, and so I was very stressed. And then I came upstairs and there was like a friggin' throne, and I was just like shocked. Like I'm not surprised that it was as awesome as it was, but I had no idea what was happening, and I love it.
Thank you so much for tuning in on this fun birthday-themed DIY for my bestie. If you enjoyed yourself, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and click the notification bell so you get notified every time we post more awesome DIY content here on the channel. And if you want to support the channel even further, consider checking out our Patreon. We do a really great after show where we go into more detail about the ins and outs of the projects and things that couldn't end up in the video itself. And you're going to get a lot of great behind the scenes content too. It's a really great way to help support the channel. Until next time, my lovelies, be creative, live fully, and memento mori.